She served a stranger a plate of pancakes, never dreaming his hidden identity would change her life forever. The morning sun spilled over Nashville, Tennessee, casting a golden glow on the cracked pavement outside Rosie's diner. Inside, the warm air buzzed with the clatter of plates, the hiss of frying eggs, and the warm smell of fresh coffee. Lily, a 24-year-old waitress with a bright smile and tired eyes, tied her apron tight and braced for another busy day. The diner was her world, small, loud, and familiar, but it was also her cage. For 5 years, she'd worked the same tables, poured the same coffee, and dreamed the same impossible dream: to open her own little cafe, a cozy spot where she could bake her famous pies and make people feel at home. Lily moved fast, her sneakers squeaking on the checkered floor as she balanced trays and flashed smiles. "More coffee, hon?" she'd ask, her voice warm like the summer breeze. Customers loved her. To them, she was the girl who never quit smiling, no matter how heavy the trays or how rude the orders. But inside, Lily carried a quiet ache. Every tip she stuffed into her jar was a step toward her dream, but it never felt close enough. Rent, bills, and life kept pulling her back. "One day," she'd whisper to herself, wiping down counters, "I'll make it happen." Her co-workers, a tight-knit crew, saw her spark. "Lily, you're too good for this place," they'd tease. She'd laugh, but deep down, she wondered if they were right. The diner was packed that morning, a mix of truckers, locals, and tourists passing through. The bell above the door jingled non-stop, and Lily darted between tables, her ponytail bouncing. She loved the chaos. It kept her mind off the what-ifs. What if she never saved enough? What if her dream stayed just that? A dream? As she refilled a mug, the bell rang again, and a man slipped inside. He wore a plain black hoodie, jeans, and a cap pulled low, hiding most of his face. He slid into a corner booth, away from the noise, like he wanted to disappear. Something about him felt different. Not flashy, but calm, like he carried a secret. Lily grabbed her notepad and walked over, her smile as bright as ever. "Morning! Welcome to Rosie's. What can I get you?" she asked, pen ready. The man looked up, his eyes sharp but kind, and gave a small smile. "Just pancakes and coffee, please," he said, his voice soft but clear. "Coming right up," Lily chirped, jotting it down. As she turned, she caught a glimpse of his face, familiar, but she couldn't place it. Was he a regular? A tourist? Her mind raced, but the diner's hustle pulled her away. She called out the order to the kitchen, her thoughts lingering on the stranger. He sat quietly, scrolling on his phone, blending into the diner's hum. Yet, there was something about him, a quiet confidence, like he belonged anywhere but chose to be here. Lily kept an eye on his booth, refilling his coffee with a quick, "All good?" He'd nod, polite but reserved, his cap still low. She didn't push. To her, he was just another customer, another small moment in a long day. But as she moved through the diner, dodging spills and laughing with regulars, a strange feeling tugged at her. Why did he seem so familiar? Was it his voice? The way he sat, like he was used to being watched but didn't want to be? The question buzzed in her, mind soft but stubborn, as she carried on with her work. Little did she know, this ordinary morning was about to turn into something she'd never forget. The diner hummed with its usual chaos, but for Lily, the world felt like it was tilting. She weaved through the crowded tables, her heart pounding, with that nagging feeling about the stranger in the corner booth. His quiet presence lingered in her mind, a puzzle she couldn't solve. As she poured coffee for a regular, Her co-worker Jenny nudged her. "You okay, Lil? You look like you saw a ghost." Lily forced a smile. "Just tired," she lied, but the truth was heavier. Something about that man, his sharp eyes, his familiar voice, stirred a restless hope she couldn't shake. She glanced at his booth again. He was still there, sipping coffee, his cap low. Why did he feel so important? The lunch rush hit like a tidal wave. Orders piled up, plates clattered, and the kitchen shouted for faster service. Lily moved like a machine, but her thoughts kept drifting. She delivered the stranger's pancakes, her hands steady but her mind racing. "Here you go, fresh off the griddle," she said, her voice bright despite the storm inside. He nodded, his smile faint but warm. "Looks perfect." "Thanks." Their eyes met for a split second, and Lily's breath caught. That face. She knew it. But before she could linger, a crash from the kitchen snapped her back. "Lily! We're drowning back here!" the cook yelled. She rushed off, the moment slipping away. As the hours ticked by, Lily's exhaustion grew. Her feet ached, her apron was stained, and the tip jar felt lighter than ever. She thought of her dream cafe, with its warm lights and shelves of homemade pies. It felt so far away, like chasing a star. Then disaster struck. Jenny grabbed her arm, her face pale. "Lil, the boss is here. He's checking the books, and he's mad." Lily's stomach dropped. Mr. Carson, the diner's owner, rarely showed up, but when he did, it meant trouble. She wiped her hands on her apron and followed Jenny to the back, her heart hammering. In the cramped office, Mr. Carson sat behind a desk, his face like thunder. Papers were scattered, and a ledger lay open. "Lily, sit!" he barked. She obeyed, her throat tight. "We're bleeding money," he said, his voice sharp. "Rent's up, supplies cost more, and we're barely breaking even. I'm cutting hours. Starting next week, you're down to 3 shifts." Lily's world spun. 3 shifts? That was half her income. "But I'm here every day," she stammered. "I work harder than anyone." Carson's eyes softened, but his tone didn't. "I know, kid, but numbers don't lie. I'm sorry." Lily stumbled out of the office, her chest tight. 3 shifts meant no savings, no tips, no dream. The diner, once her safe haven, felt like a trap closing in. She leaned against the wall, fighting tears. "This can't be happening," she whispered. Her mind flashed to her mom, who'd worked double, shifts to raise her, always saying, "Keep going, Lily. You're tougher than this." But right now, she didn't feel tough. She felt small, like the world was crushing her. Back in the diner, she forced herself to keep moving. She refilled coffees, cleared plates, and smiled through the pain. Every step felt heavier, every laugh harder to fake. She glanced at the stranger's booth, hoping for a distraction, but he was gone. Her heart sank. Had she missed something? She hurried to his table, her hands trembling as she cleared his plate. That's when she saw it. A folded check under his coffee cup. Her breath caught. She opened it, and her eyes widened. A $2,000 tip stared back at her, crisp and unreal. Below it, a handwritten note. "Believe in your dreams. Let me help. E.M." Lily's knees buckled. E.M.? Could it be? Elon Musk? The name hit her like lightning. She remembered his face, the Tesla she'd seen outside, the quiet confidence. Her hands shook as she clutched the check, hope and disbelief crashing together. But before she could process it, Jenny's voice cut through. "Lily, Carson's calling you again. He's got bad news. Lily froze, the check burning in her hand. What could be worse than losing her hours? And why did this note feel like the key to everything, or a cruel trick she couldn't trust? Lily stood frozen in the bustling diner, the check with the $2,000 tip and the cryptic note, "Believe in your dreams. Let me help." E.M. clutched in her trembling hand. The noise of clinking plates and chattering customers faded, drowned out by the roar of her heartbeat. Could it really be Elon Musk? The thought felt like a dream. Too big. Too impossible. But Jenny's urgent voice snapped her back. "Lily! Carson's waiting. He looks ready to fire someone." Fear twisted in her gut. The check felt like a lifeline, but Mr. Carson's bad news loomed like a storm cloud, threatening to wash it all away. She shoved the check into her apron and hurried to the office, her sneakers dragging on the checkered floor. Every step felt like wading through mud. Her mind spun with images of her dream cafe, warm lights, the smell of apple pie, a place where people felt loved. Now, with her hours cut and Carson's anger brewing, that dream seemed to crumble like ash. She thought of her mom's words, "You're tougher than this." But toughness wasn't enough. Not anymore. She was tired, bone deep, soul heavy, tired. 5 years of spilled coffee, sore feet, and empty promises had worn her thin. In the EP office, Mr. Carson's face was grim, his ledger open like a book of doom. "Lily," he said, his voice low, "we're not just cutting hours. I might have to close the diner. The landlord's doubling the rent. We can't keep up." The words hit like a punch. Close the diner? This place, with its creaky booths and familiar faces, was her home. Her co-workers were family. Losing it would rip away the last thread holding her together. "No," she whispered, her voice breaking. "There's got to be a way." Carson shook his head. "Unless a miracle walks through that door, we're done by next month." Lily stumbled out, her chest so tight she could barely breathe. The diner blurred through tears she fought to hide. She slipped into the break room, collapsing onto a rickety chair. The check crinkled in her apron, and she pulled it out, staring at the note. E.M. Her heart wanted to believe it was Musk, that this was her miracle. But doubt clawed at her. What if it was a prank? A mistake? She'd served hundreds of customers. Why would someone like him notice her? "I'm nobody," she muttered, her voice raw. The weight of failure pressed down. Failure to save the diner, to chase her dream, to be more than a waitress scraping by. She closed her eyes, memories flashing like a broken reel. Her mom baking pies in their tiny kitchen, laughing despite the bills piling up. Lily promising herself she'd make her proud. But now, at 24, she felt stuck, like she was running in place while the world moved on. A sob escaped her lips, and she buried her face in her hands. This was her breaking point. The dream she'd clung to felt like a cruel joke, and the diner, her safe haven, was slipping away. "I can't do this anymore," she whispered, the words tasting like defeat. Then her phone buzzed in her pocket, shattering the silence. She wiped her eyes and glanced at the screen. An unknown number. Her heart skipped. With a shaky breath, she answered. "Hello?" A calm, professional voice replied, "Is this Lily? This is Sarah, Mr. Musk's assistant. He left you a note today, correct?" Lily's breath caught, her despair cracking like ice under sunlight. Yes," she stammered. "That was really him?" Sarah's voice softened. "It was. He was impressed by your kindness and your story about wanting a cafe. He'd like to meet you tomorrow to discuss how he can help. Are you free? Lily's hand flew to her mouth, tears spilling freely now. Not from pain, but from a spark of hope so bright it scared her. The diner, the cut hours, Carson's news, it all faded for a moment. This was real. Elon Musk, the man who built rockets and changed the world, saw something in her. Her mind raced. Could this save her dream? Could it save the diner? But as the call ended, a new fear crept in. What if she wasn't ready for this? What if she stepped into this new world and failed? The check in her hand felt heavier than ever, a promise and a challenge she couldn't ignore. Lily's hands shook as she hung up the phone, Sarah's words echoing in her mind like a drumbeat. Mr. Musk wants to meet you tomorrow. The tiny break room at Rosie's diner felt too small to hold the storm of emotions crashing through her. The check with the $2,000 tip and the note, "Believe in your dreams. Let me help." EM lay on the table, its crisp edges glowing under the dim light. It was real. Elon Musk, the man who dreamed of Mars, had seen her, a waitress pouring coffee in a crumbling diner. But the weight of Mr. Carson's words, the diner's closing, clung to her like damp clothes, threatening to drown the spark of hope Sarah's call had ignited. She paced the room, her sneakers squeaking on the worn linoleum. The diner buzzed outside, plates clattering, voices laughing, oblivious to the ticking clock. 1 month. That's all they had before the landlord's rent hike shut them down. Lily's chest tightened. This place wasn't just a job, it was. Late-night talks with Jenny, regulars who knew her mom's pie recipe, the smell of grease and coffee that felt like home. Losing it would break her. But the note, it was a lifeline, wasn't it? Her mind raced, piecing together the stranger's face. The sharp eyes, the quiet confidence, the Tesla parked outside. Why her? Why now? The questions piled up, each one heavier than the last. She grabbed the check, her fingers tracing the handwritten EM. Doubt crept in like a shadow. What if this was too good to be true? She'd heard stories, scams, fake promises. But Sarah's voice had been real, professional, kind. Lily's breath hitched as she remembered their brief chat at the stranger's booth. She'd mentioned her dream cafe, laughing it off as a silly wish. Had he listened? The idea sent a shiver down her spine. Someone like Musk, with the world at his feet, cared about her dream? It felt like standing on the edge of a cliff, the ground crumbling beneath her. Lily stood, wiping her tears, her jaw set. The fear was still there, clawing at her, but something stronger burned inside, a fire she hadn't felt in years. She tucked the check into her pocket, its weight now a promise, not a question. "I'm meeting him," she said, her voice steady. "Tomorrow. I don't know how, but I'm going to fight for this, for the diner, for my cafe, for me." Jenny grinned, tears in her eyes. "That's my girl." As Lily stepped back into the diner's chaos, the bell above the door jingled, and she felt it. A shift, like the universe was watching. She was ready to take the leap, but what would Musk ask of her? And could she rise to meet it? Lily's heart thundered as she stepped into the sleek Nashville office, the glass walls reflecting her nervous reflection. It was the day of her meeting with Elon Musk's team, and the weight of everything, Rosie's diner, her dream cafe, her mom's memory, pressed down like a storm ready to break. The check with the $2,000 tip and the note, "Believe in your dreams. Let me help." EM was tucked in her purse, a fragile promise that had carried her here. But now, standing in this polished world of wealth and power, doubt clawed at her. Could she really save the diner? Could a waitress, like her, rise to meet a man like Musk? Failure wasn't just losing a dream. It was losing her home, her family, herself. Lily stood, wiping her tears, her jaw set. The fear was still there, clawing at her, but something stronger burned inside. A fire she hadn't felt in years. She tucked the check into her pocket, its weight now a promise, not a question. "I'm meeting him," she said, her voice steady. "Tomorrow. I don't know how, but I'm going to fight for this. For the diner, for my cafe, for me." Jenny grinned, tears in her eyes. "That's my girl." As Lily stepped back into the diner's chaos, the bell above the door jingled, and she felt it. A shift, like the universe was watching. She was ready to take the leap, but what would Musk ask of her? And could she rise to meet it? Lily's heart thundered as she stepped into the sleek Nashville office, the glass walls reflecting her nervous reflection. It was the day of her meeting with Elon Musk's team, and the weight of everything, Rosie's diner, her dream cafe, her mom's memory, pressed down like a storm ready to break. The check with the $2,000 tip and the note, "Believe in your dreams. Let me help." EM was tucked in her purse, a fragile promise that had carried her here. But now, standing in this polished world of wealth and power, doubt clawed at her. Could she really save the diner? Could a waitress, like her, rise to meet a man like Musk? Failure wasn't just losing a dream. It was losing her home, her family, herself. The assistant, Sarah, led her to a conference room where a small team waited, their faces serious but kind. "Mr. Musk will join us shortly," Sarah said, her voice calm. Lily nodded, her mouth dry, her palms sweaty. She sat, her worn sneakers, scuffing the glossy floor, feeling like an imposter in her thrift store dress. The stakes burned in her mind. Rosie's diner had 1 week left before the landlord's deadline. If she couldn't convince Musk's team to help, the diner would close, her co-workers would scatter, and her dream cafe would stay a fantasy. She thought of Jenny's tearful hug, Carson's defeated slump, her mom's voice. "You're tougher than this?" She had to be. The door opened, and Elon Musk walked in. No hoodie now, just a crisp shirt, and that quiet confidence she'd seen in the diner. His eyes met hers, and a faint smile flickered. "Lily," he said, his voice steady, "you made it." Her breath caught. It was him, the man who'd eaten her pancakes, left her a fortune, and turned her world upside down. The room seemed to shrink, the air electric with possibility. But before she could speak, Sarah slid a tablet across the table. "We've reviewed your situation," she said. "The diner's debt is steep, $50,000 to cover the rent hike and keep it open. Your cafe idea is promising, but it's a risk. Mr. Musk is willing to fund both, but there's a condition." Lily's heart sank. A condition? Her mind raced. Conditions meant tests, and tests meant failure. Musk leaned forward, his gaze piercing. "I believe in dreamers," he said, "but dreams need work. I'll give you the funds, but you have to prove you can lead. Pitch your cafe to my team, right now. Show us it's not just a wish. If you convince us, we'll save the diner and back your business. If not—" He didn't finish, but the silence screamed, "You lose everything." The room spun. A pitch? She wasn't a businesswoman. She was a waitress. her hands stained with coffee, her dreams scribbled on napkins. Panic surged, her chest tight, her throat burning. She saw the diner's empty booths, Jenny's worried face, her mom's faded apron hanging in her closet. Failure would bury them all. I don't know how, she stammered, her voice small. Musk's eyes softened, but his tone was firm. You told me your dream over pancakes. Tell it now. Make us believe. The team watched, pens poised, their silence deafening. Lily's hands shook as she stood, her purse slipping to the floor. Her mind screamed to run, to hide, to give up. But then she saw it. A flicker of her cafe, warm with pie-scented air, filled with laughter. She thought of her mom, who'd worked herself sick for her. She thought of the note, "Believe in your dreams." Her fear burned away, replaced by a fire she hadn't known she had. "Okay," she said, her voice trembling but growing stronger. "Let me tell you about my cafe." She spoke, her words clumsy at first, then fierce. She described a cozy space where locals gathered, where her pies, her mom's recipes, brought smiles. She talked of community, of second chances, of a place that felt like home. Her voice cracked as she shared her struggle. Years of saving, missing word, pouring coffee, saving every penny, daring to dream bigger than her small life. She didn't notice the team leaning forward, Sarah's nod, Musk's quiet smile. She poured her heart out, tears in her eyes, her hands steady now. "This cafe isn't just for me," she finished, her voice ringing. "It's for Rosie's, for my friends, for everyone who's ever felt stuck. Please help me make it real." The room was silent, the air thick with tension. Lily's heart pounded, her breath shallow. Had she done enough? Musk leaned back, his expression unreadable. Then he stood, clapping slowly. "That," he said, "is a dream worth fighting for." Sarah smiled, scribbling notes. "We're in," she said. "The diner's saved, and your cafe's funded. Welcome to the team, Lily." Relief crashed over her, a sob escaping her lips. She'd done it. The diner would live. Her cafe would rise. She fell into her chair, tears streaming, her body shaking with joy and disbelief. She'd faced her fear, her doubt, her past, and won. As Musk shook her hand, his grip firm, he said, "You're tougher than you think. Don't stop now." Lily nodded, her heart soaring. The battle was over, but her journey was just beginning. She'd fought for her dream and won, not just for herself, but for everyone she loved. The diner's bell would jingle again, and her cafe's doors would open, all because she dared to believe. The sun poured through the wide windows of Lily's Pie Haven, her dream cafe, bathing the cozy space in golden light. The air was thick with the sweet scent of apple pie and the hum of happy voices. Lily stood behind the counter, her apron dusted with flour, her smile brighter than it had ever been at Rosie's diner. Months had passed since that heart-pounding meeting with Elon Musk's team, since she'd poured her soul into a pitch that saved the diner and birthed her cafe. The check with the $2,000 tip and the note, "Believe in your dreams, let me help." EM, now hung framed above the counter, a quiet reminder of the day her life changed forever. Lily's hands moved with practiced ease, sliding a warm slice of pie to a customer, her heart swelling with pride. The cafe was everything she'd dreamed. Wooden tables filled with locals, walls lined with photos of her mom's recipes, and a warmth that made strangers feel like family. Rosie's diner still stood, its bell jingling with every customer, saved by Musk's funding and Lily's determination. Her co-workers, Jenny, Carson, the whole crew, had rallied to keep it alive, and now they stopped by her cafe, their laughter filling the air. But the victory wasn't just the open doors or the bustling tables. It was Lily herself, transformed from a weary waitress into a woman who'd faced her fears and won. She paused, wiping her hands on her apron, her eyes tracing the cafe's details, the chalkboard menu, the vase of wildflowers, the soft music playing. Each piece was a memory of her journey. The sleepless nights planning, the mentors Musk's team connected her with, the grand opening when the line stretched down the street. She'd lost something along the way. Her doubt, her smallness, the ascension, the belief that she was enough. But she'd gained so much more. Courage, purpose, a community that believed in her. Her chest ached with gratitude as she thought of her mom, whose recipes lived in every pie. "I did it, Mom," she whispered, her voice soft, her eyes misty. The pain of scraping by, of feeling invisible, had forged her into someone stronger, someone who could stand tall. The cafe buzzed with life, but Lily's mind wandered to that ordinary day at the diner when she'd served a stranger pancakes. With a smile. She hadn't known then that a single act of kindness would ripple outward, changing her world. Musk's generosity, $50,000 to save the diner and more to fund her cafe, had been the spark. But it was her grit, her heart, that turned the dream real. He'd sent a note for the cafe's opening. "Dreams grow when you fight for them. Proud of you, E.M." It sat folded in her pocket, a talisman she touched when doubt crept in. As she handed a coffee to a regular, Lily thought of the people who filled her life now. Customers who felt like friends, staff who shared her vision, a community that showed up. Her cafe wasn't just a place. It was a promise kept, a legacy. For her mom, a home for anyone who walked through the door. She'd learned the universe could surprise you, that ordinary moments could hold extraordinary power. The journey hadn't been easy. Fear, failure, and heartbreak had tested her, but it had shaped her into someone who could dream big and make it happen. The bell above the cafe door chimed, and Lily looked up, her smile ready. A new customer stepped in, and she felt a familiar spark. Maybe this moment, too, held something unexpected. She thought back to the diner, to the stranger's quiet smile, and realized life was a series of chances, each one a door to something new. As she served a slice of pie, her heart full, Lily knew she'd carry this truth forever. A single act of courage can change everything.